Hello, everybody. I'm Rusty Wallace with ESPN.
And I'm Krista Voda with Fox and Speed. Honored to be standing next to class of 2013 NASCAR Hall of Fame inductee and 1989 Sprint Cup champion Rusty Wallace.
Well, we're ready for a spectacular weekend, aren't we?
It is going to be fantastic. And on behalf of the France family and everyone at NASCAR, we want to welcome you today to the 2012 Championship Contenders press conference right here at Homestead-Miami Speedway.
Well, it's going to be a big weekend. We're going to crown 3 NASCAR champions at Ford Championship Weekend. The title's going to be decided in the Truck Series, the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and it should be a whale of a race.
And today we're actually going to visit with all of the drivers across all 3 of NASCAR's National Series who all come into Homestead still in contention for the championship. That's a total of 8 drivers. Safe to say 8 certainly is enough. It's an elite 8 for sure.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to have a quick rundown for our format today. We're going to meet with the championship contenders in 3 different segments. Each segment will include a short question and answer session in addition to breakout sessions we'll have later on. Our first segment involves the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, so Krista, it's kind of all yours now.
Okay. We begin our program by spotlighting tomorrow night's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series season finale here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, the Ford EcoBoost 200. Now, this has arguably been the most competitive season in series history, and I have 2 reasons why. 15 different winners, including 9 first-time winners. Both of those are series records. Like last year, we have reached the end of the season-long battle with 3 drivers still in championship contention.
Well, in 2012, the one who has been dominant on mile and a half is the 31 of Buescher. And Buescher has issues. Your point leader into the wall.
We'll go to Homestead. I guess we're still leading the points.
It's going to be a big win for Timothy Peters at Bristol.
I just thank the good Lord for being with me and letting me win 2 in 1 year.
Joey Coulter's been able to get around Timothy Peters for the 3rd spot.
And now we have a shot going into Homestead, and that's all we ask for.
He is going to grab his first ever Camping World Truck Series win.
I finally did. I won a NASCAR race, and to finally do it means so much.
Around goes Brendan Gaughan. Ty Dillon also involved in this.
My guys are tough, and we're not giving up.
Contenders in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series come into South Florida separated by just 12 points. It is NASCAR's tightest championship battle. Introducing first a driver who is no ordinary rookie. He is third place thanks to a consistent season with 17 top 10 finishes. Welcome, please, one of our sport's bright young stars, driver of the number 3 Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Chevrolet Silverado for Richard Childress Racing, 20-year-old Ty Dillon. Next up, this driver in second place going into Friday's finale, 11 points out of first. He has 2 poles, 2 wins, 10 top 5s, and now a chance at the championship. Welcome, please, the driver of the number 17 Toyota Tundra of Red Horse Racing, Timothy Peters. And our NASCAR Camping World Truck Series points leader, he was up here last year and trying to finish what he started. Came into this season without a NASCAR win. He now has more Truck Series wins this season than any other driver. He drives the number 31 Great Clips Turner Motorsports Chevrolet. Welcome, James Buescher. Okay, guys, let's get some quick opening comments from each of you before we hand over to the media for a Q&A session. Ty, you're 12 points back, trying to win the championship, just like your brother Austin did last year. And should you win that, by the way, you would break his record as the youngest series champion in history. Has there been any trash talking in your family?
I guess. All right, this button threw me off. But no, he's just pushing me to go and get the championship too. He wants to see me succeed, and it's been a great year for us, and we've been really consistent in these last few races. We've really taken ourselves out of being rookies and taken ourselves to championship contenders. We've been very fortunate in finishing where we have and what we've done. So we're going to keep battling, and this weekend's race is a great opportunity for us to win a race and hopefully win the championship. So we've been getting faster and faster every week. So our plan this weekend is to lead the most laps and win the race, and where the championship falls, and it'll hopefully come to us. But we're just going to do what we can do, and that's win races.
Timothy, like Ty, you have a little bit of ground to make up in the championship, but not much at all, just 11 points. But you've had something else in your life sort of to focus on. Your wife getting ready to deliver your first child in just over a month is the scheduled due date. Has that helped calm your nerves because you're worrying about something entirely different as well?
That definitely puts a lot in perspective for sure. You know, she got cleared by the doctor to come this weekend. She couldn't come to Texas or Phoenix, and it's comforting for her to be with me on that plane this morning, headed down here in the position that we're in, and it has helped ease my mind. You know, to think about being a parent first time. I mean, everybody goes through it that has a kid, and you know, you want to be good at it. So it's take a little bit of the pressure of coming down here, but also maybe add it a little bit because you know, it'd be cool to welcome into the world as a championship dad.
Timothy, by the way, our veteran of this group at the ripe old age of 32, I just want to point out. So, James, you were up here, like I said, on this stage last year trying to finish off what you started. Without giving away too much, I know you have a strategy for Friday night. If you could share maybe a little bit or tell us what last year taught you, why you're a better driver now maybe than you were last year.
I think our whole team's just better than we were last year. You know, from every aspect, and you know, we gel together very well, and you know, Michael Shelton and I have come a long way. Him on the pit box and me as a driver, and last year we were sitting on the stage with no wins, and this year we have 4 in the Truck Series. So you know, I think we're in the position we need to be in. Looked like we were going to have a bigger point lead with 5 to go at Phoenix, but you know, that wasn't in the cards for us, and we had a problem and blew a right front tire. So I guess we just like to keep it interesting in the Truck Series. So you know, we're still leading, so we're still where we want to be. We just have to go out on the track tomorrow and do what we know how to do and run up front. And you know, we've won all 4 races on mile and a halfs this year, so plays into our cards pretty well. So I feel good about this weekend.
Okay, let's have some fun with these guys. To conduct our question and answer session with our Truck Series contenders, here's the Senior Director of Competition Communications for NASCAR, Kerry Tharp.
Thank you very much, Krista. It's great to see a full house here at the Media Center, Homestead-Miami Speedway Championship weekend. We're going to get it started off right now. We're going to take a few questions for our NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Championship contenders. If you have a question, raise your hand and we'll come around with a wireless microphone. Please state your name and affiliation, and if you can, limit it to 1 question. We have 4 mic runners, if I can introduce them very quickly. Edward Williams from here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Lenny Santiago from the World Center of Racing at Daytona International Speedway. Betsy Mayer, our good friend up at Watkins Glen International. And our newest teammate, the communications manager of American Le Mans Series, Aaron Seacole, is here with us today. So raise your hand and we'll get started. Start right here with Mr. Reed. Go right ahead, and then we'll go over here to Fernando. Go ahead, Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. For all 3 of you guys, you've got 3 guys within 12 points of the lead right now. Unlike the other 2 series where you've got 1 guy leading and another 20 points back, does that make your approach to the race more complicated than it otherwise would be? I know, James, you've got a number that you've got to hit in order to shut them out, but are you guys watching each other pretty closely during the course of the evening?
I mean, I have a number that I have to hit to guarantee myself, but that's if they lead the most laps and win the race. So, you know, we have to approach it the same way that the other guys do. They have a number as well. Theirs is just not as low of a number. So, I don't know. Like I said, I guess we just like to keep it interesting. It could have been a 20-point spread, but, you know, 2 to go, we blew a tire, so.
I look at it as all or nothing. We need to come in here and probably just like the other 2, Austin and James, they want to lead the most laps and win the race, and wherever, I mean, I'm sorry, I got Austin on my mind, Ty. You know, lead the most laps and win the race, you know, so we got a lot of real estate that all 3 of us got to cover. So from my position, I like being the guy chasing James, so it's going to be interesting.
Ty?
Well, my number's 1. You know, we got to win the race, lead the most laps, and put the pressure on everybody else. And that's our main focus this weekend. And anything short of that's not going to be acceptable for us to win the championship, I don't think.
Very good. Fernando?
Thank you. Fernando Fiore from Univision. I live here in Miami. Welcome, guys. And Timothy, you seem a little nervous right now. And do you think that tonight you will be able to sleep thinking that you have to catch up with James, or in a month you won't sleep at all? So that will be different when you have a kid.
Believe it or not, I've got the best sleep this week than I have all week, you know. I'm ready to get it going, you know. I wish we were getting on track this afternoon, but you're right. I'm rested up now because next month about this time definitely won't get any sleep. So as far as being nervous, I mean, I got a little bit there. Always have. You know, my dad always told me that if he wasn't, then something was wrong. So it's going to be good.
Who has the next question? Raise your hand. Let's go right here with Mike. Go ahead.
Mike Hembry from Speed.com. James, you have a little bit of breathing room, but you're in a situation where you can't be too careful, and you can't really overcharge things either. How do you sort of work a balance between not wrecking the car early but finishing high too?
You know, the things that have happened to this year when we didn't finish in the top 5 or top 10 is mechanical problems or stuff out of our control. You know, blowing tires and having parts failures. So we have to approach it like any other race weekend. I think if we switch to defense, you get too worried about what these other two guys are doing, and you know, you don't focus on your team and what you need to do on the racetrack. So we just got to stay focused on our team, run our race, just like we have every other week, and hope we have luck on our side to not have any failures, because when we haven't had failures, we've ran really well everywhere this season. So you know, that's our plan.
Go ahead, Don.
Don Culver with Morris News Service. As a follow-up to that, James, and for all three of you, will all of you, will you want to know where the other people are, or is that too much to think about during a race, to say, all right, you know, where's Timothy, where's Ty, where's James, how do we stand? I mean, is that too much to think about during a race?
I think that's switching to defense, you know, for us. So, I mean, my team's aware of it because they have the screens right in front of them, but you know, if I don't see them out my windshield, I know they're behind me. So we just need to plan on running up front and running our race, like I said. So if I get too worried about what they're doing, we'll start making mistakes.
Who else has questions? Right here. Go ahead.
Dwight Durham, RaceTake.com. As far as the Truck Series goes, the excitement that it seems to be generating over the last couple of years, could you talk a little bit about that, about fans, any of you or all of you, what the excitement of it means to you?
You know, it's hard racing from the time the race starts with the green until the checkered. You know, there's no time to ride or be cautious, and it's all out. You know, from Daytona to Martinsville, you know, there's literally bumper tag and door slamming, and I think that's what makes everything intriguing about the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And here we are in Homestead, and it's going to come down to the last lap of who wins this championship. So, you know, everywhere we go, whether it's your hometown or, you know, Vegas to back East Coast, everybody's talking big buzz about the series. And, you know, you had a lot of teams, new teams come in this year, and you hear more coming next year. So, you know, it's pretty cool to see the way the series has grown.
Anybody else care to comment about that?
I think he hit it pretty good. You know, the shorter races, you have less time to get it done, so you have to go out there and get it done. And you know, the competition's so tight. Krista talked about it. You know, 9 first-time winners, 15 different winners this season. That's a lot of teams that are capable of winning races, and we've had less races than the other series. So to be coming to Homestead with the closest points battle doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, the way the air moves around with these trucks, you can't get away from each other. So, you know, everybody's packed in a tight pack, and then we're only allowed a certain amount of tires. So then there's a strategy game that's pulled into a giant pack of trucks that can put any good truck up front at any time and allow young drivers to get up front and show what they're made of. And I think that's why you see such a variety of winners and great finishes in the truck series. And I think it's the fastest growing the series that we have right now, that people really sit down and watch the truck race because they know it's going to be an exciting race.
Let's go back in the back. Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. With you guys being so young and so much on the line, and you seem so calm, do you have people that are giving you advice? Do you want advice? Do you have veteran drivers that you go to? Or do you just prefer to kind of go off on your own and kind of run your own race? How is it behind the scenes?
It's one of those deals where you get all the advice that you can stand, I guess. But then at the end of the day, when you show up, after this is all over with, it's game on, and you want to go off on your own and just think about it, and however the cards are dealt to you, that's what your hand is. But I guarantee you that Foreigner Head Game song is pretty popular this weekend.
For me, my wife gives me a lot of motivation. Everybody that I can think of tries to give me advice. I can't tell you the number of text messages I've gotten this week from people I haven't talked to in 6 months, and that doesn't help for sure. I mean, they're trying to help, but it doesn't. But there's a plan, and whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen, and it's just part of it. So we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully it plays out in my favor.
Everybody knows my family, so they like to talk. So I'm getting plenty of advice, and it's been great. And the best advice is just to go out and win races. That's the way to gain the most points in NASCAR, and that's the only thing I can look to do. And pressure's off of us, just go win races, and that's I've got it from my brother who won the championship last year, my dad, and my grandfather. Everybody at RCR has really been helpful. So we're just head down trying to win a race.
Thank you, gentlemen. That concludes our question and answer session with our 3 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Championship contenders. Thanks to Ty, Timothy, and James. All 3 will be available downstairs in our breakout sessions. Right now, please join me back in welcoming our co-host from ESPN, Hall of Famer Rusty Wallace.
Thanks, Kerry. Appreciate it. Well, as with the Truck Series, we're going to bring up all 3 Nationwide Series drivers to the stage. And I'll tell you what, they're the last 3 standing. They got a lot of pressure on them, and we've had 32 races this year. There's been a lot of wrecking and banging, a lot of excitement going on, and it's getting right down to the wire. So it features a lot of veterans and some up-and-comers, so this is going to be a great year for them, a great last race for them. I think they're all excited. They're ready to go.
He'll be first to the checkers today at Phoenix. Sadler wins it. Stenhouse squeezing in front of Sadler. Championship leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has crashed on the back straightaway. Car 3 to the checkered flag, Austin Dillon.
And to be able to win your first race like this, take over the points lead, this is a good time for Austin Dillon.
He is going to be black flagged for jumping the restart.
NASCAR just taking his championship right from me.
He found a way to pull it together and refocus.
They are not taking this championship from me! Yeah, baby!
Elliott Sadler into the wall. Before the crash, he was 10 points down. Right now, he has shown 20 points down.
And now let's meet the 3 championship contenders in the Nationwide Series. Coming into Saturday's Ford EcoBoost 300, third place, 25 points out of the lead, is last year's Camping World Truck Series champion, and he's Ty Dillon's older brother, but still he's only 22 years old. Welcome, and please give a hand for the number 3 driver, the Advocare Chevrolet, Austin Dillon. Where's the hands at, guys? All right. Second place in the Nationwide Series standings is last year's runner-up, and he's won 4 times this year. And he comes in 20 points out of the lead. Here's the driver, the number 2, one main Fancher Chevrolet for RCR, Elliott Sadler. And now our points leader in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He's got a season-high 6 victories, a lot of wins. He's also had a chance to become the 6th driver in history to win back-to-back NASCAR Nationwide Series championships. Let's welcome the driver of the number 6 Ford EcoBoost Ford for Roush Fenway Racing, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Guys, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We'll start off with some opening questions for each one of you. Austin, you're up first, okay? You won the Truck Series championship last year, and now you've had a fantastic rookie season in Nationwide Series. I'd like you to talk about what's it like to have such a great career at such a young age.
Well, the best thing about this is it's been a good rookie year, and coming into the series, you expect, you want to set your goals high, and we did going into this year. Our first goal was to win Rookie of the Year, and I think we pretty much accomplished that, and then having a chance to come to Homestead with a championship shot, and we gave ourselves that. So we accomplished 2 of our goals, and I'm very proud of that, and then also getting a victory lane. So I can't thank all of my guys, RCR, and everything that's worked really well together this year, and it's been a great year.
Elliott, you're up next. I know it was a heartbreak for you last week, man, no doubt about that, and I don't see any smiles on your face whatsoever. But one good thing is that, Elliott, this year you and Ricky have swapped the points lead 5 times this season. What would it mean for you to have one more swap Saturday and try to close this deal?
Well, I think it'd be a good storyline if we swap it 6 times this year. That's what I think. Yeah, last week was definitely a tough race for us. I, made a mistake and put our team in a hole coming here to Homestead. 20 points is not undoable, but we know Ricky really runs well at this racetrack. But, us for our team just need to go out and do the best job we can this weekend, try to run up front, lead some laps, try to win the race, and just let the points fall where they may. But I'm not disappointed at all in the season we've had. We've won a lot of races, won some poles, been in the points lead, a high majority of the races this year. We've definitely been in contention, and that's what our goal was when we went to Daytona. So we just got one more race to try to finish it off, and we're going to put our best foot forward and see where it takes us on Saturday.
All right, Elliott, thanks a lot. We wish you luck. Now to our points leader, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky, 5 drivers have won back-to-back NASCAR Nationwide Series championships. Sam Ard, Larry Pearson, Randy LaJoie, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Martin Truex Jr. What would it mean for you to join that group?
That'd be huge. That was the goal that we set coming into this year. I think, we set a few goals. We wanted to win, 6 to 10 races, and I was hoping we were going to be closer to 10. But the 6 is a great accomplishment for our team. I think we've ran a lot better. We've scored way more points than we did last year, and even going into last weekend, we were tied in points. So I think it's a testament to this series and how well Elliott and his guys have ran, and Austin and his guys. It seems like the level of competition has really stepped up this year, and that's really cool to see. It's been fun to be a part of, and we're coming down to my favorite racetrack, so I can't think of a better place to finish it off.
All right, Ricky, thanks a lot. Now to conduct our question and answer session and bring back up Kerry. Kerry, it's all yours.
Thank you, Rusty. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you all know the drill. If you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll hear from Elliott. We'll hear from Ricky, and we'll hear from Austin. Questions? Looks like Holly has a question right here. Aaron?
Thank you, Holly K, NASCAR.com. I'm just curious, in other years and some of the different series, there's been a lot of playful interaction heading into the championship weekend. What is the relationship between the 3 of you? And is there, much kidding going on? Is there much talking, trash talking going on? What has that been like heading here into the last race?
Well, I think you know us. There's a lot of talking going on, but it's we get along. We've been with each other the last, Elliott and I have, the last 2 years racing, parked in the garage next to each other every week, and our teams get along. We fly on the same planes, so if you don't get along, it makes for a long season. So this year's been fun with these guys, bringing Austin in with us, and it's just been a regular relationship, if you want to call it friendship. I mean, it's, you always get on the racetrack. Each one of us want to beat each other as much as the other one does, and we go out to do that every week. And but off the racetrack, it's a friendship.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think Ricky and I learned a lot about each other last year, like he said, parking next to each other, and it's a mutual respect. I think he makes me better as a race car driver, and I learn things from him, and I think he learned things from me, and I think it's we definitely want to outrun each other on the racetrack, but we want to do it the right way, and it's been fun the last 2 years. So I think it's hadn't really been a talking, mouthing back and forth relationship. It's been more that I know my team and I need to outrun them, and I think they know they need to outrun us, and that's the kind of relationship we've had the last 2 years. So I think it's kind of boils on that.
Yeah, I get along with both of them, but I hope it gets nasty on Saturday, personally. I hope they door slam each other off of turn 4 and I make it through the smoke. But no, I'm actually waiting for Elliott to give back Ricky what he owes him at Richmond and Bristol this year. I'm still trying to figure out when that's going to happen.
Very good. Next question. Let's go here to Fernando, and then we'll go to Mike.
Well, Austin, talking about relationships, I see that you're getting so along with them. what is the situation at home with Ty? This is another relationship that probably is not going so well for bragging rights at the family. Huh?
For me and Ty? No, we've had good years, man. It's a great week with coming to Homestead and both having a chance to win a championship. And RCR won the Cup race last week. That was really big for our team. And welcome North Carolina. It's good right now. So yeah, it's a good year. Other than I am pushing Ty. I hope he can finish off the championship. And I think he's got a great shot going into Friday.
Let's go right here to Mike and then Jeff. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Henry, Speed.com. Ricky, you found out during this season that you'd be moving up to Cup in a really solid situation next year. What was the impact on that on this year for you? Was it sort of an emotional lift for you, or did the races you ran on the other side take some time away from Nationwide? What was the balance of all that?
The announcement, I guess, was kind of exciting. The news of going into the 17 car with Matt's sponsors, Best Buy, Zest, and Fifth Third. But Jack and I had been talking about running a fourth Cup car anyway next year, so it really wasn't news that we were going to go full-time Cup. We kind of had already had that in the works. So it didn't really change my outlook on the season, but it is comforting knowing that you have that already in place. Last year I came into Homestead. We won the championship, and we still didn't know if we were running Cup or Nationwide for 2012 until the end of December. So that's always nerve-wracking. So it's always nice to have that in the back of your mind. And I really haven't thought anything about 2013 since we've made that announcement because we got a job to do here.
Let's go Jeff, and then we'll go to Claire. Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from SBNation.com. Elliot, I'm just wondering over here, if you're down by 20 points and maybe you can't make that up on the track, do you kind of have to openly root for Ricky to blow a tire or somebody to wreck him or something along those lines?
Honestly, I think when you're inside the car, I've always been more focused on what we're doing. I mean, if something happens to Ricky, we're going to try to take advantage of it, but it's not like I'm riding around waiting for something to happen to him. We've got to go out and run our race and see where it takes us, because if we don't run our race and do our job, it doesn't matter if something happens bad to him or not anyway. So we might throw a banana peel under his trailer since we're parked beside him anyway before the race starts and see if that will help him out a little bit. But, we got to, the way we're looking at it, we got to go do our job and just see where, just kind of see where the chips fall.
Go ahead, Claire, and then Bob.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. So much talk about the identity of the Nationwide Series, and with trucks, it's tough trucks. And headed into this championship, and you guys all have sort of different roles and different levels of where you're at. What do you see the identity as this series headed into this championship run?
I think the series has done a great job the last couple of years creating a great identity. I think it's got a lot of storylines. It's got a lot of promising drivers in this series. And Ricky just talked about how many points we've scored this year. You've got to run really good to be a part of the series. And I think the Nationwide regulars won a lot of races this year, which is good. It seems like that number is growing every single year since people have started to keep account of that now because of the point system. So I think honestly that the Nationwide Series and Nationwide as a company has done a great job identifying different drivers in their series, and I feel like we're doing a good job as far as competition on the racetrack. I think those guys know when they come down to race, the guys that race on Sunday come down to race on Saturday, that it's not really going to be handed to them, that they got a battle to try to get to victory lane, and I think that's definitely good for the sport, and it's good for the Nationwide Series.
I agree with what Elliot's saying about how when the Cup guys come down that they have to really know that we're not going to give it to them, and we're racing for a championship and a win just as hard as they are. So it has, I think, changed the identity of the sport the last few years, and it's very cool to be out here and driving against these guys, and just to have a chance to go into a championship weekend, it's pretty cool, and have three drivers. I think there was two last year, so there's three this year, and then you can actually throw in, Sam Hornish had a great year in there for a long time. There was four of us dicing up, pushing each other to get those top fives.
All right, let's go with Bob, and then we'll go to Marty. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Ricky, you're on the entry list for Cup. Are you running that race, and was there any thought about not running it, or were you thinking that, especially with you working with Scott next year, that was important to do this race?
No, Jack asked me if I thought it was going to be a problem, and I never did. So I think, we're race car drivers. I've ran the Nationwide car for the last 3 years now, and, I know the feel that I'm looking for in that. And so when I jump over in the Cup car, it doesn't really throw me off any. I come back to the Nationwide car, and I know exactly what I need to do in the Nationwide car. And, I like track time. I like being on the racetrack. For race car drivers, we hate, listening to the cars practice and we're sitting in the garage or sitting in the motorhome, watching it. So I think it's going to be a great weekend for us running both. And to get another race in with Scott before next year, I think is going to be a huge help too.
Let's go over to the far right. Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Elliot, we saw your initial reaction last weekend, owning up to making a mistake. When you removed yourself from it all, gone from the racetrack, how did those emotions change, and what were those emotions once you kind of had solitude and were away from the circus?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Marty, and it's, I still take the blame. It's one or two things that happened on the racetrack last week that could have really changed where we finished and how our racing points could have been different at the end of the race. A little break here, a little different line there, a little not mistake here or there. So things could have been definitely different. But, I look back on it as a mistake, and I talked to my team about it and could have done a better job. But, I got to come back this weekend and 100% focused and ready to go and, try to make up a really big deficit at a tough racetrack as far as giving up points from Ricky's side. So it was a tough week. It's been a long week just because I felt like I put ourselves in a really big hole. We got to have a really big weekend this weekend.
Okay, that concludes our NASCAR Nationwide Series question and answer session. I want to thank Elliot, Ricky, and Austin for being up here today, and all three of them will be available downstairs in our breakout sessions later this afternoon. Please welcome back our co-host, Chris Devoda and Rusty Wallace.
Thank you, gentlemen. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship comes down to just two men, one trying to win the title for the sixth time, the other for the very first time.
Well, I'll tell you, both of these contenders have drove their cars to the limits. I mean, they have drove harder than I've ever seen anybody drive in a long time. And in the process, it seems like they've created a rivalry and formed an already compelling season together. So this is going to be something I can't wait to watch. I really don't know if these guys get along at all, do they? We'll have to see.
Here's the dominant car, the leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Bring it to us this time. Be ready? Go like hell. Hard, hard, hard.
Look at Brad Keselowski and Jimmy Johnson as they come back onto the racetrack.
Keselowski looked the five-time champion in the eye, and he did not blink.
Today he will win and make another huge statement about his intent in this year's championship. Jimmy Johnson breaks loose.
I can't believe I saved it.
Jimmy Johnson goes back into the lead of the championship point standings. Jimmy Johnson powers on the outside. Keselowski diving back to the inside.
Refuse to lose this damn championship.
Jimmy Johnson grabs his fifth win of 2012. Trouble up a third four. It's Jimmy Johnson. Brad avoids several bullets and goes into the championship point lead by 20.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup season started back in February under the lights in Florida on a Monday night. It will end in November under the lights once again in Florida.
The ninth annual chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup season has highlighted a former champion and a potential future champion. And now in week 36 of the season, something's got to give, and in my opinion, it will.
Welcome, please, our second-place driver coming into Sunday's Ford EcoBoost 400, the five-time champion of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports, Jimmy Johnson.
And here's our championship point leader in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Hey, you guys, they clap like I hug. Sort of half in. It's a press conference, so I know. You never know, do you clap or not?
I was going to say, either go big or go home. And our championship points leader, Brad Keselowski, driver the number 2 Miller Lite car.
Oh, wow. I don't know who you are, but I like that. It's 2 questions.
Let's start with Jimmy, a somewhat strange position for you this weekend, because in 4 of the 5 years you've won the championship, you've come into Homestead leading the points. Now, similar to 2010, you come in as the chaser. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can you pull off another late race comeback?
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. You look at our bad luck last weekend. There's still a race here, and there's still hard tires on these race cars, and something can happen there. There's still a lot of very tough competition on the track. Then this just isn't any other race. This is the championship race, and there's a lot that comes with that. So I'm very optimistic. I think that we'll have a very fast race car, and we'll go out onto the racetrack and do all that we can each and every lap of every practice session, qualifying and race, and see how things play out. I find another point of motivation and optimism. We look at the IndyCar Championship and how it unfolded at Fontana. It seemed like it was a layup race, and things can happen. This is racing, so I think either way we'll be in good shape. We'll have a fast race car and go out and race hard, and then if some luck comes our way, we'll hopefully be ready to capitalize on that as well.
Well, Brad, I'm trying to stay neutral here. There's no doubt about that. But I got a special affinity for that number 2 car. That's also been a very special car for me. And I think about Roger Penske a lot. Never winning a NASCAR Cup title. Becoming close many times, though. What would it mean for you to be the first guy to bring home that title for Penske and that entire group?
Well, thanks, Rusty. I think I got to push this button down since there's this big thing.
How about that? Yeah, there we go. Well, to win a championship for Roger would certainly be a huge accomplishment, considering everything he's been through in American motorsports and beyond. You look at his legacy in the sport, and you can't help but feel that he's been a little bit slighted on the NASCAR side. So we'd like to get that job done. I think we have the opportunity to do it. I think we have the team and car, and it's just a matter of putting all the pieces together. And so far that's happened this year. There's no guarantee that will continue to happen, but I think you look at trends and you try to label how things can happen, and there's a very strong possibility. So, for us, it's about focusing on getting the job done and trying not to think about all those other things, whether it's, what it means or what obstacles lie ahead. It's about, just focusing on what we need to do. And, the history books and the life lessons and so forth, those things will work their way out in the end if you just get the job done. And I think that's where our focus is.
All right, Brad, thanks a lot. To conduct the question and answer period, we're going to bring back up Kerry Thorpe.
Okay. For our final segment here today at the Championship Contenders press conference, got questions for Jimmy Johnson and Brad Keselowski. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start right here with Jeff, and then we'll go to this young man over here to the left.
Jeff Gluck from SBNation.com. Jimmy, given the deficit, do you feel like you have to root for something bad to happen to Brad, or would you consider roughing him up in order to put him back somewhere back in the field?
Well, I think that to think that a top 15 finish is a layup is tough. I mean, this garage area is tough. The weight of this race, I don't care who you are, it'll show up at some point in time, and thoughts will run through your head. And with all that being said, a 15th place finish isn't a layup for these guys. So I have a little bit of stock in that, and we'll see how they respond. I mean, their trends this year have been strong, but this is a different race. Then as far as the luck category, we were unlucky, and anybody can. Anybody can be. So, there's that element of that exists out there, and we'll just see where it all unfolds. But there's a line of racing hard, to answer your final part of your question, and we both have proven we're willing to race hard, and I certainly am willing to race hard down here. It's not my style to go drive through somebody and create the opportunity. That's not me. So I'm going to race as hard as I possibly can and see where things fall.
Gentleman to the left, Don Coble, and then Jenna. Go ahead.
John Roger, NASCAR Fridays. This question's for Brad. Brad, at the beginning of the season, you did something spectacular with social media. You had your phone in your car, and during the red flag at Daytona, you were able to tweet. It was on Twitter. It was going crazy. People were following you like crazy, and it was trending nationwide. It made a big impact on the sport. Coming into the last weekend, you got fined for having your phone in your car. So the question I have for you is, will you still bring it into your car for this race? Or what do you think that means for the future of being able to tweet or be a part of Twitter and the social media world during a red flag at the race?
Well, I think your first part was, would I put it in my car this weekend? Is that what your first question was? You got 2 questions. He earned 2 questions. I don't know. You haven't got 2 questions. So you got to pick one. Which one do you want?
What does it mean? What does it mean for the future of
What does it mean for the future? Okay, I'll answer that one. That's a good one. I think it means that you can still be involved in social media, but I think NASCAR's certainly said that they want to draw a line as to what you can do specifically in the car, and I think that's what it means for the future.
Let's go to Don Coble, Jenna Fryer, and George Diaz. Go ahead, Don. Right here. Sorry.
Don Coble with Morris News Service. Both of you know what the scenarios are. Will you have your teams let you know how you stand, or is that too much to think about during the race? Do you want to know where the other guy is, how many positions you got to get, or do you kind of wait till you get down to the last 50 laps to start thinking about stuff like that?
I mean, I don't really know how to answer. I mean, I guess you could look at it that way, but if you go out there and run well, at least from my position, that it all takes care of itself. So with maybe the exception of the last lap or two, I got a pretty good idea where I'm at on the racetrack, or I should, and that stuff works its way out if we're in a good position.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, if we get to the end of the race and they're not having the day that that they would hope to have, that information could. It's really probably not going to change anything that I do. I mean, I still need every spot I can get on the track, but I'm sure information will come in, and even if it isn't specific, I will be able to tell by the tone in Chad's voice as to if we're in the good or the bad.
Let's go with Jenna, then we'll go George, and then we'll go to Mike Brunell.
Jennifer, AP. I'm going to ask 2, even though I'm not allowed, Brad. But I guess it's 1 for both of you. As the psych major, or the pretend psych major of the group, Jimmy, I can't help but notice you brought up the IndyCar Championship and what happened there, and you said a top 15 finish is no layup. It seems you're kind of tweaking it a little bit, maybe intentional, maybe not. And we know from the past, I guess, 2 championships, you guys messed with Denny a little bit up there. Carl got a little rattled from Tony. Maybe you're doing it on purpose, maybe you're not. Is that the intent, to put the weight on Brad? And Brad, you seem to just be sitting there, square-jawed, looking straight ahead. Are you? Yeah, you can smile. I mean, are you too dumb to know any better, or
Wow. I thought Jimmy was going to be tough. Dang.
And I mean
Jimmy,
that.
you got a lot of work to do to catch up with her.
No, and I mean that with all due respect,
I think you watch Talladega Nights too much.
Let's stay on topic here. Jimmy, go ahead.
Of course I'm going to find points that give myself motivation and my team, and if there's anything I can do, and Brad, if you'd like me to call you later and remind you of any other examples, I certainly can, of guys that didn't pull off the season finale as they would hope. But one thing I've learned is that regardless of how experienced anyone is in this championship battle, at some point the magnitude of it hits you. And at some point, he may be very comfortable and calm now. It may not happen until he's in the car, but at some point that magnitude hits. And I've lived through it 5 times. And that's a turning moment. And we'll see how he responds. It also carries over to guys changing tires. I mean, there's some point where every member on that race team goes, this is it. This is what I've worked so hard for. And I'll be glad to point out those moments as needed.
Brad, do you have any rebuttal there?
I think my question is, how dumb am I?
How are you, we saw Denny fall victim to it, Carl got a little rattled in this moment. What are you doing to not, and Roger has seen Will Power, fall victim to it, 4 times. So what are you doing to not, let this rattle you?
This as in the opportunity to win a championship? Well, I think that it's not something that you can really answer in a sense that's easy for this group to understand. And that's not, sorry, maybe that was a jab back. I've been listening to too much Tony Stewart. But I think it comes from, the people that you're surrounded by. and how comfortable they are, and that comes into your own world. And I can tell you that the group that I have and that I'm surrounded by, whether it's in my personal life or professional life, they're not known for being very rattled in these opportunities and these positions. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you can do, is be surrounded by people that that share that same passion that you have, but also put out a level of calmness that is somewhat addictive. And I feel like if you look at Paul, Paul's pretty stone-faced, and that's his style. He's not a real emotional guy, and certainly you cue off of that, just like Jimmy was saying he does with Chad. And there's other guys. You look at Roger. Roger's the same way. You're not going to see Roger showing a bunch of emotion, even if we do win it. He's going to be very stoic, as he always is, which is great. And my family life, personal life, is the same way. Whether it's my dad or mom, when they have their successes, they're certainly very passionate and happy for them, but they're also very very quiet and very capable of moving forward and looking forward to not get too caught up in the moment. So for me, I guess the best way to answer is I rely on the people I'm surrounded by.
Let's go George, Mike, and then Lee. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, Brad, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. The points and, as Jimmy stated, 15th place finish is not a layup. How much is, when you start crunching numbers, if you will, approaching the race, I mean, how much of that do you do in terms of affecting your mindset, in terms of affecting your approach to the race? I assume it doesn't change, but I also think that it's human nature not to think about, hey, I've got a pretty good shot here.
Well, Mr. Diaz, I haven't crunched a lot of numbers, to be honest. Not those types. I can tell you what kind of fuel mileage we're going to get, but I got no idea about the trends and patterns of the average finish and so forth. But I know if we go out there and just do our jobs, everything will take care of itself. So to put your focus on those other things is just another distraction that doesn't serve the goal that we have. So I haven't done it.
Let's go to Mike. Let's go to Lee, and then Nate. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike Brudnell from the Detroit Free Press. Brad, no pressure on you, mate, but you'd be the first Michigan-born driver, if you win on Sunday, to claim the Sprint Cup title. How does it make you feel? I mean, obviously pretty proud, I'd guess. Detroit needs a boost. The Tigers lost the World Series. How does it all play in?
Well, I mean, I'd be glad to help out. How about that? Obviously I'm very proud of the roots that I have back in Michigan, and specifically in the Metro Detroit area, and have strong roots still to the area with my family living there and car owner who's based out of the Detroit area. So I think it would be a very powerful moment for sure, at least for me and hopefully for the area and community. So anything that we can do to serve that just plays into some of the heritage of our team. And makes us stronger.
Let's go Lee, Nate, and then Melinda.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Brad, when you think back to Rochester Hills and that little white cinder block shop that your dad raced out of and your grandfather raced out of Michigan, when you think back to all of that and how far you've come, and it could have gone the other way. You could be where Brian is right now. What does that mean to you? What will that mean to the Keselowski family, who's really scraped and to get where you are today?
Well, it's hard to speak for everyone in my family, and I don't want to pretend to do that, but I also know that, I have somewhat of a read on them. And, it's kind of funny when you brought that up. My brother, I was thinking of the parallels between Jimmy and I and our brothers and where we're at in sports, and we both want to see them be successful. And obviously that hasn't worked out for them, and as far as being a race car driver at this level. And both of us probably want to see that happen. But it's not easy, and it's a difficult balance. I know my brother's planning on coming down here for the weekend on Sunday, or I should say for the day on Sunday, and that's going to be great. I'm glad to have him here, or any family for that matter. And I think if the personal relationship that my brother and I have, you would understand why that's such an accomplishment for him to be here Sunday. So I think that probably speaks more volumes than anything else as to how my family is feeling those moments. My dad is the type of guy that would probably never tell you good job to your face, But if he spoke to you or did an interview with you, he would say, wow, man, you got to see what Brad's done. It's great, and I feel awesome about it. So I have to rely on those outside things, those nuances, so to speak. So it's good to see him as well at the racetrack this weekend, and my brother and my mom and so forth, sisters coming out. So that makes me feel like it really means a lot to them.
We got time for 3 more questions. We're going to go with Nate, Melinda, and end back in the corner with Bob.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. For Jimmy, you said that at some point the magnitude hits you for everybody, and it affects the contenders in some way. But a few weeks ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said about Brad Keselowski that he's so mentally tough he didn't think he was going to crack. Is there something you see from Brad that makes you think otherwise? And what happens in that moment when the magnitude does hit you? How do you respond to it? What makes that championship medal that you need to win a championship?
Well, me trying to explain what it's like and how I've handled it would probably be kind of stupid to me right now. So I'm going to not answer the second part of your question. The first part is, the magnitude sets in at some point. I mean, just answered a question about family, and I've been there, and I've been the guy leading the points, and people are so curious to know all these what ifs. What if it happens? And you're forced to answer questions that you're not used to answering, that you don't want to answer, and builds through the course of the week. So again, it hits everybody differently, and there's no guarantees how it'll hit them. But I know from my own experience that there have been those moments, and fortunately, I responded well to them. We'll see how the weekend goes.
We had the next question. We had 2 more. Melinda and then Bob.
Melinda Adams, ESPN. Brad, this question's for you. You've said all along you're going to come here, you're going to win it. You really only have to finish 15th. How do you change your mindset from being the go-all-out kind of driver you are to maybe kind of being conservative and playing it safe?
You don't. One of my favorite movies in the whole wide world is this documentary on Ayrton Senna. And there's this really powerful scene in that movie that sticks with me when I think about this weekend. I think about this scene in the movie where they talk about him at Monaco, which was his just phenomenal track that that he was so strong at, and how he had this huge lead over his teammate at the time. Obviously had an identical car, which showcased what kind of talent Ayrton had. And they were coming down to the closing laps of the race, and they told him to slow down. You have a huge lead. Don't worry, just slow down. And he wrecked. And I think of that as I approach this weekend. I'm going to go out there and play my game, race my way. That's got us to this point. And if we do that, we'll be fine. And I think that's our approach.
Final question, Bob, and those that didn't get your questions in, remember they're available downstairs. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Dillner, Speed. Brad, Jimmy's played a little head games on you here, and you said you're relying on people and you're going to race your race this weekend. But what I want to know, this is a championship you're going after, the best of the best in racing. How does this weekend feel different, and if it doesn't, why?
Well, I've been going for the championship all my life, and specifically this particular one for the last 9 races. So Homestead pays the same amount of points that Chicago did, and the same amount of points that Martinsville did when Jimmy won. It's the same, and there's no reason to change that approach, and that's why I feel that way.
Okay, this concludes our formal part of the Q&A with Jimmy and Brad. As I said, they will be available downstairs. And to wrap up our event up here today, let's welcome back Chris Devoda and Rusty Wallace.
Thank you.
Jimmy, you can take that with you if you'd like. Yeah.
So there's proof. We've heard from 8 drivers ranging in age from, Jimmy, 37, right? You're 37, correct? Yes. Ranging in age from 37 to 20. The future of the sport looks very bright. Of course, the immediate future is right here this weekend. Rusty, you know what it's like to win a championship. I can't wait to see which drivers join you possibly for the first time.
Well, it's going to be a tough one. It really is. I mean, you see Brad, he's tough. He's ready to go. And Jimmy, he's got his best car here. He's got the car he won Indianapolis with. He's got the car he won Dover with. I talked to him early. He's excited about that. And he's going to be throwing Hail Marys out there. So it's going to be a battle right to the very end. These two won it bad, and I think they barely like each other. That's about it.
And I believe all our championship contenders are heading...
Yep, our championship contenders are going to be downstairs for about 40 minutes now. That's about it. So get on down there with your questions. They're looking forward to seeing you, and this will conclude the day's activities. Thanks, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you.